Well, good morning, friends and colleagues. It's a really incredible privilege for me to stand here at what I consider to be a pinnacle of a certain thread of a long sort of things in the background to how I come to be here. Now, I don't normally do this, but I think given the present company and the importance of where we are in society about where we go from here, not just with national parks, but the countryside as a whole, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a little bit of the background thread of how I come to be in this position. My love affair with the North York Moors started a long time ago, about 40 years ago. I worked for a publisher and we decided to have a Christmas party, and at a Christmas party we thought, what should we do? And I said, I know what we'll do. We'll go to Kirby Moorside to the pub, and then we'll go to Kirkdale Cave on the southern side of the North York Moors, and we'll go out there and we'll go in the cave. So that's what we did for our Christmas party. Now, Kirkdale Cave is an incredibly important place because this changed the world and the understanding of the landscape. And anyway, we went into the cave and it was dark, and we put our torches off and it was absolutely black in there. And in there you can imagine all kinds of things. Well, that was the beginning of my experience of the North York Moors in a really serious way. But working through from that now, I should imagine my thread from there to today has probably got more aspects to it than most people's. But you'll equally all have your own threads through all your own stories. So if you'll forgive me for my self-congratulatory thread, I've worked for the National Park, I've visited the National Park, I've campaigned against the National Park and the government, and with a very small number of people we succeeded in stopping them grant-aiding the conversion of moorland to grasslands. I've written the guidebook to the National Park, I've photographed the next guidebook to the National Park. How many were there? I was involved with the Countryside Commission on the Watch Over the National Parks campaign, and we'll have another one of those if you've all got it in you to do it. We went on from that, and we did the individual national parks, and then beyond that, I've owned land in the national park. I'm a trustee of land in the national park, and I worked for 10 years with Tom over a project to save the cornfield flowers of the national park. And with working with Tom and Naima, then I guess that's how I end up here today. So on this journey, I think the thing that's really struck me about it in welcoming you to our world, for all of you who are not from the moors, is that in this little corner of England, there's an incredible number of things have happened that have changed everything. What was found here at the beginning of the 1800s showed that the British landscape had once been hot, once been cold, and rewrote the understanding of that landscape and of evolution. This morning I came through three places. I went there, I went a long pass through Brompton, and in Brompton is where aviation was born. 1852, Sir George Cayley, and he also invented the tension spoke bicycle wheel, artificial limbs, caterpillar tracks, safety curtains, and dug various bits of the North York Moors up to turn the River Derwent into the sea. And then I came through Hackness, and in Hackness we had Smith, who single-handedly mapped the geology of the British Isles and in fact lays at the root of the oil industry. And that's before you start on Captain Cook and various other things as well. So when you look at these things that have happened in the countryside and in the national park, I'll go as far as to say that looking where society is now, right now, and I'm sure you would all agree with this, is one of the most important moments in where the heck we're going to go from here with what happens. And so in a sense that this person who's told you his thread, that's to justify myself slightly why I'm going to give you the challenge at the end of this, because I think when you look at this statement, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. I fundamentally believe that that's absolutely right. What we really need is the ears to hear at the other end, and the committed groups of people working away quietly, focused in what they're going to do. So I would go as far as to say that today, that small group of thoughtful, committed citizens for National Park are sitting in this room. And the challenge is that have we got it in us to do now what we need to do in order to make sure that we take this forward? What is the single thread of the messages that we're going to pump out at people? Because we've got a massive constituent of support. You just look at the people who come here, but how do we harness that behind a coherent message which we can all drive in a focused way? That is the challenge to you all. And if we can do it, really we will write an agenda which the society will say, those people, they actually changed the world for national parks. And I think that we really can do that, because if we don't do it, there's nobody else there to do it. So if you're up to the challenge, I'll throw it over to you, there you go, and I hope you have a really good conference, and at the end of it, you can focus on those things which you can make a difference over. So I will throw in my 3 into the ring of what I think we've got to do. One is the obvious one, about proper protection, that we don't have any inappropriate uses of these national parks. It's an obvious one. Second one is the income streams for landholders. We've got to have a clear way that that works, because at the moment, landholders are looking into the future with no means of sustaining, often in the uplands, the means at which they're going to actually keep that going. The public does not want a theme park. And so without that income streams that people are going to have, there's going to be some very real difficulties. And I think other thing I would like to add to this agenda is the habitats regulations and what follows them. Absolutely crucial. If we're going to build back nature, we've got to protect what we've got. And what we've got, if it gets watered down from what the habitats regulations offered for our finest land, for our finest wildlife places, that actually would be a really serious problem. And at the moment, I mean, I can imagine we do not know what is going to actually happen with that. Because we know that governments hate the habitats regulations because they actually put the brakes on development for a change. So I think the habitats regulations, what follows that in our own interpretation of EU law, is absolutely crucial too. So those are my 3 things, but I'm going to add one other in which we can all do, and I applaud Exmoor, I applaud the South Downs, light pollution. Can we please all have somewhere in there, because light pollution is a very easy one once you get reasonable people for them to understand why it matters, because they love the sky. Now last night I left early, I didn't come to the dinner, I went down to Kirkdale Cave in the dark, and I stood there in the dark, I switched the car lights off, and it was a really black place, and the stars were all shining, and a meteorite shot across the sky, and I made a wish for you all. I think you can read between the lines of what that wish was, but I'm not going to tell you it because it won't come true if I tell you it. Thank you very much, and have a lovely conference, and I hope at the end of it we can give that focus push together, starting from here. Thank you.